What's going on, YouTube, and welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy Kevin Forte, and today we are taking a look at what has been going on here over the last couple of days for the New York Rangers. It was a busy Friday for the New York Rangers and their management, as we're going to discuss some of the moves that we saw the Rangers make and their victory over the Pittsburgh Penguins. We're going to discuss all of that here today. So I made a video last week, and I hesitate when I make these types of videos because we talked about rumors about the Rangers making some trades, maybe trading out guys like Kreider or Trouba, even Lafreniere. There's been a lot of stuff going on with the Rangers, and I wanted to give it like 2 or 3 days just to see what would kind of transpire from that. And I did. I posted that video a couple days after the initial rumors, and it kind of looked pretty concrete that something was going to happen. And then the Rangers lose at home at Madison Square Garden Monday night, 5-1 against the New Jersey Devils. And that gave them a 4-day break between Monday and Friday until their next game. It gave time for Chris Drury to make some kind of move, and a move they made. In fact, this trade involved their captain, Jacob Trouba, leaving the Rangers. This is now the third consecutive captain to leave the New York Rangers via trade. So it's been one of those things for the Rangers. You look back at guys like Ryan McDonough and Ryan Callahan, who most recently, both of those players were the captain of the Rangers before Trouba. They both got traded to Tampa. But this situation, Jacob Trouba is now a member of the Anaheim Ducks, as Jacob Trouba goes to the Anaheim Ducks, and the rest of his contract, no salary retained. No salary retained by the Anaheim Ducks. They take on the full salary. The Rangers have to keep none of that deal. In return, the Rangers are going to pick up defenseman Euro Vakanainen and a 4th-round pick. So the trade itself, we're not really going to delve and analyze too much into the actual contract itself, because the contract itself isn't really the thing here. The deal itself isn't really that much of a thing. Euro Vakanainen, a former Don Sweeney pick of the Boston Bruins, a 1st-round pick. Things didn't work out in Boston, got traded to Anaheim, and then he ends up coming back to the East Coast here to play for the Rangers. He's a decent depth defenseman, but especially with how good some of the Rangers' younger defensemen are right now, I don't think it's that big of a deal. This is a guy that's going to help them out. He's a little bit younger, but is not going to be a needle bender in any way or form. And it's a replacement for Trouba, at least for the time being, on that blue line. And they also pick up a 4th-round draft pick, including that. And I think what's so interesting about this is Ranger fans have been trying so hard to get rid of Trouba. It seems like every Ranger fan hated Jacob Trouba until he laid a big hit or fought somebody, and then they loved him again. And it's that love-hate relationship where on any given night, you love the guy because of his highlight reel hits, but then you hate him the next night because he looks like a guy that's skating with logs behind him. And it's kind of one of those situations with Trouba where he is a decent player. And if you didn't see the $8 million cap hit per season for his contract, you would say, if the guy's making at most $4 million per year, I can live with that. But the fact that that cap hit, especially on this Rangers team that is trying to win a Stanley Cup this year, there's a lot involved there. And then you consider the fact that he's their captain, the fact that a lot of Ranger fans have accused him of kind of just not caring anymore. That kind of stuff, I would say, I think you knew this was coming over the summer because there was, kind of from Trouba's quote, I mean, they were pretty much ready to trade him to the Red Wings, and he said he didn't want to go, which this is something we need to talk about, because when you look at contract situations, and we're going to talk about this with Shesterkin in a minute and what's next, if you have a no-trade clause in your contract, the reason you have a no-trade clause is because you have been given that in your contract. Both sides agreed on that. So if the Rangers don't like the fact that he has a no-trade clause and he doesn't want to waive a no-trade clause, that's on you. You shouldn't have signed a contract that included a no-trade clause for that player. The player is entitled to that ability to say no to a trade. That's what the point of a no-trade clause list is for. Do I understand that it helps the team? Yes, and that's easy as a fan to sit there and say that. But what about this guy that has probably kids in school, potentially, you know, a wife that works in wherever place, and that's part of the situation here with Trouba. There's a lot of stuff other than hockey going on here and in many other situations where we have a no trade clause situation. And every year around the trade deadline, it comes up again and again, and people continue to complain. But they forget these people. They're humans too. They're not just hockey players that play on the ice between 7 and 9:30 p.m. for your viewing. There is a life behind that. And I think people have really lost sight of that. And unfortunately, it leads to this type of situation. And I know that the way Chris Drury handled it probably wasn't the best. I will say, though, a lot of people started coming out after saying this is going to hurt the Rangers' reputation, and the fact that they're, trading their captain and kind of forcing him to accept a trade that maybe he didn't want. Honestly, as much as I would love to believe that, and that would keep teams accountable and keep teams in check, it's New York City at Madison Square Garden. If anybody has the opportunity to play at that building for a home game wearing that Ranger sweater, they're going to do it. It's going to be very difficult. The day where that comes could be down the line someday. But I don't think we're at that point yet. People see New York as that type of place where they can be a star. And you look at guys like Henrik Lundqvist, who retires and becomes an actor pretty much. Or same thing with Sean Avery. Love him or hate him, you get the point. Guys that play for the New York Rangers usually have other stuff going on behind the scenes that also, off the ice, can pretty much benefit them. So not only are you playing for the Rangers, you're playing at the world's most famous arena, you're also getting those other things on the side. And that's why guys like going to Toronto and Montreal and New York. Not everybody, but there's enough interest there where the Rangers do have leverage over other teams. And you look at even when they signed Panarin, there was a pretty interesting thing going on there between him and the Islanders. The Islanders and the Rangers were the final two teams there, but let's be honest, Panarin knew all along. He was just trying to raise the value of his contract with the Rangers. He was always going to sign with the Rangers. It was more so what could his agent get from the Islanders to maybe boost up that contract just a little bit. But he always wanted to go to New York. He always wanted to play for the Rangers, and that's what a lot of guys end up doing. Look at Vincent Trocheck. Kind of a similar example with Jacob Trouba. All those guys want to play there. And that leads us to the next conversation. As the New York Rangers also signed Igor Shesterkin, 8-year deal, $11.5 million per season. He is the highest paid goaltender in National Hockey history. Now, that is obviously going to change as the salary cap continues to go up. Now that we're coming out of the pandemic, pretty much 5 years now, things are finally starting to go back up. The salary cap's expected to go up again this year. Maybe not as much as we hoped a couple years ago with the new CBA, but still, the contracts are going to continue to go up. And for Igor Shesterkin, honestly, huge contract. And this is going to affect other contracts around the league when we look at goaltenders coming up. As an Islander fan, I'm pretty happy that Shesterkin signed his deal last year at 8 years, $8 million. It's making that contract look a lot, as much as Shesterkin has struggled here and there, $8 million is a lot easier to stomach right now than what comparable could have been here with Shesterkin. Because 11.5 is a lot. That is a lot of money for a guy that is your goaltender. And for 8 years, and not including this season. So there is the rest of this season, and then 1, 2, all the way to 8 years after that. So the rest of this season and 8 years. So 8.5 more seasons of Igor Shesterkin with the Rangers, potentially. That's a long contract. $11.5 million. So we'll see how things go there. I think it's going to be okay for the Rangers, but you never know. When you're talking about contracts that get close to that decade mark, I'm going to be in my 30s by the time this contract is done. That's a scary thought, but it's a reality. And that's where the Rangers got to be careful with that. But I think Shesterkin's one of the safer contracts. But you never know. We could look back and say, man, that was a bad decision by the Rangers. You never know. That's the world of sports. You never truly know. But I think looking forward for the Rangers, I mean, we could see them maybe make more moves here. I know they've been tied to a guy like Tkachuk. I don't know how realistic that is going to be for the Rangers, just considering what they have. You know, do the Ottawa Senators really want Chris Kreider and Alexis Lafreniere? And are the Rangers willing to give up one of those young defensemen like a Braden Schneider? Or maybe one of the other young guys. I mean, is a Brennan Ottman on the table or a Brett Berard? Like, I don't know if the Rangers are really all too fine with trading those guys right now, but if you want to get a deal like Tkachuk done, the Senators are not going to be giving him up for free. And just because teams around the league would love to trade with the Rangers doesn't mean they're going to give you a sweetheart contract. They're not going to give you this. They're not going to just give you Tkachuk because. It's not going to happen, right? It's not like Patrick Kane where he's an expiring contract. He doesn't want to re-sign with the Blackhawks. Very different situation there, what we had a couple years ago compared to what we have here. This is a very different dynamic between Tkachuk, the Senators, and potentially what could be with the New York Rangers. But I'd love to know what you guys think in the comment section down below. What do you guys think of the Rangers, the situation around Trouba, Shesterkin, Chris Drury, Tkachuk? Let me know what you think down below, guys. As always, thank you so much for watching today's video, and I'll see you again next time. Peace out, guys.